We had some like opening discussions, some kind of like pilots, if you will, earlier on. And we talked about times that we were going to disagree. I just didn't think it was going to be on the very first show. Okay, let's start off like this. So, we're the hosts. My name is Andrew Roach. I'm with the Roach Family Real Estate team. We specialize in the Milton area, Halton Region. We go into, North Halton. A lot of our clients right now are moving out to Guelph, Kitchener, Cambridge area, just for affordability, lifestyle, et cetera. So that's probably like a 20% of our market right now is our buyers and clientele are kind of just making that natural move. Specialize mostly in young families for the most part, but that's not to say that, we can't help others, but that's kind of our niche. Busy households, young families, that's kind of our bread and butter, just like us, right? So, how about yourself there, Ross? Tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks, Andrew. Ross Bridges, been in real estate now for over 12 years. I have my own team, the Ross Bridges Real Estate team. My background is architectural technician and then also marketing. So real estate was a great fit for me. In terms of target audience, I like to work with all demographics, people moving up into the market, whether it could be people that are downsizing or your first time buyers, pretty much, anybody that needs help, same thing with you in terms of, we've got a lot of people moving, out of the major city, more into the suburbs. I specialize in Oakville, Burlington, born and raised Oakville. I've been in Burlington now for 17 years and I reside in South Burlington. Very blessed to call it home. And so that's pretty much my bread and butter. We help people move pretty much from the out of Toronto all the way into also parts of the Hamilton region as well too.
Yeah, South Burlington. I mean, wow, what a beautiful area, right? Like, I love going down along the waterfront, like, the older mature areas. It's got a different feel to it. I mean, Milton's nice. Don't get me wrong. I love Milton, but I'm one of those I'm like those type of people that just I love I love real estate. I love real estate sales and all that stuff. But I love real estate, like the actual asset itself. I love neighborhoods and I love the character that you can see when you go into different neighborhoods, like going into downtown Toronto. Like I always said, like if fate took us in a different direction and we weren't able to have kids, I'd live downtown Toronto for sure. No problem, right? I love the different areas of Toronto, the little different neighborhoods and all that kind of stuff. I love Milton. I love the young family atmosphere and how everything's close by. But I love, I love downtown Burlington. I love downtown Oakville along the waterfront, the old areas, right? So like you said, you're blessed to live down there. It's beautiful down there. It's gorgeous.
I love the love you're giving out. I mean, I'm a proud suburban. Okay. So, going to the city for me, a lot of my buddies, I was one of the very few that went west. They all went from Oakville. Most of my friends, shout out to all my buddies out there in Toronto. Their families are incredibly happy there, but, no, I'm definitely more of a suburban kid. I mean, we're blessed whether we're in Milton or we're in anywhere in actually Hamilton is a beautiful area that doesn't get the recognition that it deserves, whether you're in Ancaster, Beamsville, Stony Creek, Waterdown. I'd love to go up there and explore Halton Hills. There's another beautiful piece of land somewhere between you and I, right? So I'm sure you're helping a lot of people up in Halton Hills. That's a gorgeous area as well too. My dad's up in Campbellville. Both my mom and sister are in Oakville, so that's my stomping ground.
You're a Halton kid.
I'm a Halton boy.
Yeah. There you go.
Where do you? So what's your roots? Where did you grow up, Andrew?
Well, both my wife and I grew up in Kingston, Ontario, and we actually met each other in junior high and dated in junior high. So I was in grade 7, she was in grade 8. So that was kind of how we spent, that year, whatever. And she went into high school and we kind of had a little, had that little childhood crush kind of thing as you do back then. And we went separate ways and we kind of, for the most part, stayed in touch, lost touch for a little while, but then we started chatting over ICQ at the time, if you remember that. Dating myself a bit, but started chatting. I was out west. She had moved out west. I moved out, just kind of whatever. And then we kept chatting, and then, again, stars aligned, and we kind of got back together again. Right. So that's where I'm from, Kingston, and a little bit of a backstory on us anyway.
Very cool. For our audience out there, you're probably wondering, what the heck are these two realtors doing? Well, we basically wanted to create a show that's going to be not only fun, give you insight on what's going on in the real estate market, but also give you kind of a day in, day out perspective on some of the things we face, so that we can educate you, entertain you, and hopefully give you some laughs along the way. Andrew and I actually met in a coaching course together in Ajax. So we both went all the way out there for a day, and we hit it off. He actually invited me up for lunch in Milton. I happily accepted, and the rest is history. We've been talking about doing this for several months, and no time like the present.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, almost a little bit too long. Eh? One of those things that we'll get to it. So here we are, getting it done.
This is our first live one, so we look forward to learning from you. We're going to bring on some guests. We're going to basically try and give you guys what you want in terms of audience. So you can follow us on our YouTube channels, and we will give you a lot more as time goes on. I think today we really wanted to address, and I'll bring this openly up with you. We wanted to talk about the current market conditions.
Yeah, for sure. Being a buyer, being a seller, both have their advantages and disadvantages. Seems a heck of a lot, harder to be a buyer right now, it's for sure. But there's certain strategies at play that each buyer can handle to try to navigate this market. And at the same time, sellers, it seems like they're it's just a win-win-win everywhere you go kind of thing. But again, certain things that you need to take into consideration and do in order to maximize this market, right? The seller's market. So I had a call last night actually from a gentleman, and it's, I understand it. I understand where the guy's coming from, but I had a call last night from the guy and just saying, he's like, I can just stick a sign on the lawn. Right? Why do I need to pay a real estate agent? Right? And Ross, if you stick a sign on the lawn, are you going to sell your house in this market? Sure, you will. Of course. And there's too many buyers out there. Right? But are you going to maximize the value of the house? We sold the house, just firmed up on it yesterday, got the deposit check yesterday. And, when we were buying for those clients, we first met with them about a month before, gave them a valuation of their home of about $1,050,000. We were out there looking for houses, whatever, finally found them a house. It wasn't long, but we found them a house. And then, by that time he said, we were getting, sorry, I apologize. I fast forward a little bit, getting out there, whatever. At that time I said, I think your house is probably going to be in the 1.1s now. So they were happy about that. So that they kind of upped their budget a smidge, which allowed them to get into the house that they actually ended up buying. And, by time we were kind of like solidifying that deal, he says, what are the chances of getting the 1.2? And I said, what, I'm not sure 100%. I think it's a possibility. Went home, did, crunch some data a little bit, looked at comps, and all of a sudden I'm like, 1.2 is in play. Long story short, we just sold it, I guess the night before last, for 1.29. So we were almost touching the 1.3 mark, right?
Right on.
And in fairness, there was a lot of work that we put into that one, naturally. But, listen, could somebody would have more than likely stuck a sign on the lawn, and they would have sold it. No question. They would have sold it. Absolutely. And it probably would have gone into multiple offers, et cetera. But I would hazard the guess that I bet you they probably would have gotten like maybe the 1.2, right? Maybe almost 1.2, depending on where they're listed and the agents that came to the table, right? But yes, that's the reality, right? What are you gonna try to save a couple $1,000, right? And miss out on the upside. So from a seller's perspective, there's a lot that needs to be done as well in this type of a market. On a buyer's perspective, I don't know how you're handling your clients, because again, I think that every market is a little bit different. Is as much as there's a lot of similarities. I think there's where you are in the market as far as price point, the type of home that you're looking for, the specific neighborhood that you're looking in, outside influences, right, negative or positive, whatever the case may be. They're all a little bit different, right? And as a buyer, what are some things that that you can do to give yourself the better chances of getting that done. I mean, I got a bunch of ideas, but I've been talking for like 5 minutes straight here. Ross, what are some of the things that you're doing with your buyers right now that are like really helping them lock down a deal?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking, Andrew. I mean, when I'm preparing my buyers, a huge part of it is preparation. I'm going to talk a little bit maybe later. We both can about bully offers, preemptive offers. 10% of the time there's an opportunity there. Off-market properties. Both myself and Andrew, we have access to a lot of homes that haven't even hit the market. So a lot of people they're looking on MLS. You really do want to have buyer representation so that that you're protected. The listing agent, they are only looking out for, well, I shouldn't say only, but their priority is to look out primarily for the seller. We do go into obviously multiple representation in a lot of the cases where we could be, but the reality is they have to do first and foremost what is best for the seller. Preparing the buyers. I mean, a lot of the questions sometimes will get asked, well, where am I going to move? Right. Yeah. One of the biggest questions in preparing our clients is, are they going to buy first or sell first?
Yeah.
A lot of the times, the best thing to do is to sell first. You're gonna know exactly what you've cleared from your home, and you're gonna be in a position to say exactly what you can afford for your next home. We've got some amazing lenders, mortgage specialists, brokers that can assist you in ensuring that obviously you're going to know your budget for your new home, whether it's downsizing or you're buying a larger home. Now, going back to different price points, are you looking at a condo, freehold townhouse, detached home? Right now, there's we would agree that it's a little easier to help people buy condos right now.
Yeah, 100%.
If we go a little bit further east, there's a little bit more of a saturation point, but I am seeing them selling more in competition now.
Right.
But it's a lot easier. Say, for example, if you're thinking about downsizing, you've been in your beautiful home for a while, and you're like, well, I wanted to move into a condo townhome or even just into a beautiful building. That's actually an easier transition than if you're moving from your condo and you want to get into a townhouse, freehold. Well, then that's a conversation about, okay, well, what are we going to get for your condo? And maybe you should be buying first so that you have an idea of what you're getting into. And then, the things that we're commonly addressing are the schools. Another thing that you and I have to hear all the time is, well, why is a home not priced accordingly? Why are they underpriced to create these bidding wars? Well, there's a few parts for that. First of all, our job is to create the most attention on that property possible. Our job is to drive as many people there and to get the largest target audience so that we're doing right by our clients. Sometimes the seller might say, well, we want to price it a little bit lower. And other times they say, no, I want to price it way higher. Well, would you rather attract, 5% of your audience to be looking at all the properties, or would you rather be attracting 95, 100 plus percent looking at the properties? In our experience, I know that when Andrew and I talk about these things, we find that the best thing to do is we price it accordingly. And then through our marketing, through our all the connections that we have across all the boards that we use, we're driving as much attention to that property as possible. So other than a Purple Bricks where they're saying, hey, tomorrow we're going to look at offers at 12 o'clock in the day, and there's 2 offers and it sells, they're not getting nearly the same return on your investment. So just be careful when you're looking at your options for making that move.
Yeah, all really good points. And actually, it's funny because we, like you said, like we had some like opening discussions, some kind of like pilots, if you will, earlier on, and we talked about times that we were going to disagree. I just didn't think it was going to be on the very first show. so I'm going to chime in just quickly. Actually, you know what? I don't know if we're going to do it now or we can do it later. Well, actually, okay, I'll do it later. What I want to talk about is the buying first or the selling first. That'll be the thing that I think that you and I might disagree on. And like I said before, like I'm not, Ross and I have, we're in different markets. We have different approaches, et cetera, right? So it's not that one's wrong and the other one's right at all. It's a different approach. And so let's take it like that. If we have a disagreement, it's just two experts in the industry, coming at the problem from a different angle. So,
awesome.
So let's talk about that a little bit later on. But one of the things, just so we don't go off topic, because God knows I will go off topic.
We will.
So let's talk about quickly. One of the things you would talk about was in your opener, right? Like bully offers, pricing the property intentionally low. And I think one of the biggest questions that we have right now, just the uncertainty with this market that a lot of people are kind of struggling over is, number one, why is the market going up so fast, right? Why are prices just taking off? And then the lack of understanding as to, if list price, the assumption I should say is that list price is market value. And I think we want to stress that certainly is not the case in a market like this. Listing price, I would say, and maybe you've got a different opinion here, but I'd say probably 90% of the time is below market value right now, right? Like you said, listed intentionally low, try to get that bidding war, try to make it seem like there's a deal. And I know that a lot of our clients, and this is the same in 2017, like we're seeing a lot of similarities in this market that we saw in 2017. So we can kind of go back with a degree of hindsight, right? And look at, what were the outcomes. But, buyers right now, just like back then, are conditioned already to have to spend, $50, $70, $100,000 over asking, right? And if agents right now, whether they're playing the game intentionally, if they're trying to do that as their primary strategy, or they're just being forced into that strategy because the market demands it and the buyers are conditioned that way. If buyers are looking at, again, let's just arbitrarily say, okay, their budget's $900,000. If you're looking for houses that are $900,000, there's a really good chance in this market that's too high. Right? It's too high. You probably realistically should be looking at around the 825, 840 kind of mark, right? As a realistic number to, in this market, get under that $900,000 mark. And again, the big asterisk here is depending on what you're buying, right? It's not a one size fits all. It's not one, you paint everything with one brush. Like you said, Ross, like, are you in a condo now? Are you buying a condo right now? Are you in Milton? Are you in Halton Region at all? Are you in Hamilton or in Toronto, or where are you buying, right? And where does that $900,000 mark in this example? Where does that fit within that market's condition? Is that high? Is that medium? Is that low? Right? We're seeing. I'm sure you've heard of this, right? It's not my market, but the London market is just exploding right now with like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 offers. About a month ago, there was a property that had 70 offers on it. Who's the agent that goes in there, the 70th offer, and he's like, you know what, I think I got a chance.
So you're telling me I got a chance?
Yes, you're saying I got a chance, right? It's a challenging market. It's a challenging market to be a buyer. And so I think that you want to I've got a lot of theories as to, why the market is going up so much. I've done a lot of data crunching. I don't know how many, what your thoughts are on why it's happening. I could probably talk for 10 minutes straight on it. So if you want to have an opportunity to give some insight, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go over together a bunch of things. We'll start by giving you, the audience, clients, people out there listening, an idea of what a bully offer is. So We touched on it a couple times, and I think I just want to give you a definition. So bully offer, a lot of times there's offer dates where you're going out to look at a home, and so you're looking at it on, and typically it's a week. So you look at it on, Monday or Tuesday, and then there's an offer that following week. Okay, so you have a time to get things prepared. Now, maybe 10-15% of the time, there is an opportunity to put an offer in beforehand where you build that relationship, where us as clients, as realtors, we have existing relationships, or we've taken the time to build a relationship with the other agent to just say, are your sellers in a situation where they would be prepared to look at a bully offer? Now, a bully offer is basically a firm offer where you have a bank draft in hand, and it's typically significantly higher than the list price. So, for all you analytical consumers out there, Andrew and we're going to talk a little bit of numbers where maybe condos right now, they're going for 97 to 105% of list price right now. We're looking at townhomes that they could be, and again, this is a broad spectrum, but remember, we're targeting the GTA market right now. So we're looking, Andrew is a specialist in Milton, myself as an Oakville, Burlington specialist, and then what we're seeing in the surrounding marketplaces that our teams deal with as well too. So freehold is very powerful. Everybody is way more in tune with freehold than they want to have to deal with condos for townhomes. So I would say freehold townhomes are probably going upwards of 110 to 115, 20%. And then detached homes would be in a similar conversation. And then we have the question of turnkey, if the homes have been freshly renovated or if they're more of a fixer-upper. We notice that typically homes that are more turnkey would end up going for, typically we see more offers, and obviously they go for more money as well too. Supply and demand. Right now, like, what is fair market value? There is not a lot going on right now. So real estate has become a hot item. It's almost bordering on entertainment for people right now with, not being able to go to their homes. Another thing that Andrew touched on the pilot is appraisals and evaluations. And, we have to protect you, that you understand that if you're making a big jump up and you're buying a home that's well over list price, that you understand that you could be on the hook for paying the difference in appraisal. So just to give you a quick analogy, and I'm going to pass this back to Andrew. Say, for example, a bank appraiser comes in at 750 and the home is more, it comes back in and saying, no, the home, they ended up paying 800,000 for it. Well, the bank is only going to allow you the mortgage after you put your down payment for up to that 750. So you are responsible for paying that additional money. So if you're moving up in the market, this could be a huge blow. If you're downsizing and you have that equity and you realize, we're going to be here for a long time. One thing that I say to my clients more often than not is, if we keep doing this, we're going to be looking for less house for more money. It's very frustrating. I'm going to pass it back over to you, Andrew, in terms of some of your opinions on that as well too.
Yeah, for sure. Great point as far as the appraisals go, and market value. And one of the things that we talk about our clients all the time is, especially when they're buyers, is, when you're looking at a house and you find something online that you're very interested in, whether you've just kind of been out there snooping around outside of your search criteria, or if it's something that we sent you and you're interested in, I would say, not only don't hesitate, but please do reach out and say, hey, what do you think this will sell for? Because, we touched on it before about, buying what list price is and what market value is. And, to Ross's point about, if this thing sells for 800, if you go and you buy it for 800, but it was listed at, 7 or 650, market value, maybe you push market value because you got in a bidding war and you blew everybody out of the water, and maybe arguably, and I say market value, let's touch on that for just a quick second. Say, well, what's market value, right? The definition of market value is what a willing buyer and what a willing seller agree upon without any outside pressures or influences, right? Like somebody's homeless and they have to buy a house right now, like without, like, doesn't even matter, or else you're gonna be living on the street. Well, that's outside influence, right? That's not just, a willing buyer, willing seller, right? Or if you're like, you're just in a financial jam and you have to sell your house and it doesn't even matter if you sell it way below market value, that's outside influence. Like that's just not a wouldn't be considered a market value. And so generally we'd be looking for, no less than 3, but ideally 5, 6, 7 comparable homes that have sold in a rough, bracket. That would benchmark it as market value. If you're blowing that out of the water, right? If market value is 750 and you're saying 800 or 850, that's paying way above market value. Forget about list price for just a second, right? Because that's what I'm trying to coach and tell people, our buyers right now, that try not to get focused on list price. Try we use it as a gauge right now to try to find houses that will roughly be what you're looking for. But in this market, like, your realtors have to be working for you like way more than they would typically have to do it, right? We have to be doing research into every type of home and every type of neighborhood to be able to say, this house that's listed at $699, it'll sell for $825, right? Forget about list price. So that way, I feel confident, you should feel confident that, to Ross's point, that you don't blow somebody out of the water. And are you going to be able to get that appraisal? Is an appraiser going to be able to come in and say, you bought it for $825, I can support that with 3 to 5 other homes, right? So that the bank who is going to be lending to you isn't lending more capital and putting themselves at more risk than the property is worth, right? So, try to really use the listing price as a gauge, but don't use the listing price as an indication of what market value is. Had another client just a couple of weeks ago whose budget is $900,000, right? They're like, for the perfect home, I'll pay $900,000. Perfect home comes along. I swear to God, I don't think I've seen a more excited couple in a house before. And I'm like, it's a beautiful house. It checks all of their boxes. It was perfect. And I said, what do you think it's going to sell for? And I said, I think it'll sell between, $875 to $900, right? And long story short, it sold for $900. They only went in at $835 max. Mm-hmm. And in hindsight, and after it, he said, you know what? It's too bad they listed so low. Who cares what they listed at, right? I mean, I understand that, but don't get caught up on that. Don't let that be your decision making, right? The factor as to what are they listed at, if you can get your mind out of list prices, market value, so that you don't have this feeling like you're paying $100,000 more than it's worth. List price these days is not market value. It's like going to Canadian Tire and that toolbox has been on sale for 4.5 years, 50% off for 4.5 years, and it's never changed, right? That's the price. You know what I mean? Forget about what the sticker price is. You just look at what's the thing worth. That was maybe a bad analogy because I kind of went the other way, but
no, that was a good analogy. I think one of the things we got to take really, what you're saying is awesome, because at the end of the day, we need to paint a picture to everyone out there. Some people are just getting started. Some people have no idea that this is the reality of the markets where they're going so high. So, we can send you recent comparables, but comparables have to be like what's sold in the last week or so.
True.
And, fair market value, I couldn't agree more with what you said. It's as much as one person's prepared to pay for your home. So if they can afford it, and then the other things that obviously we want to do to protect you is you can do home inspections prior to putting in an offer. Yeah. Now in this market, if we're listing homes, and Andrew and I are available for anyone out there if they want an evaluation on their home. One of the things we can do is we can do a pre-home inspection. Now, a buyer might come to the table and they might not be like, well, I don't trust their home inspection. I'm going to do my own home inspection. But you have to remember, we use very reputable companies where it's not the one-off home for them. They have to make sure that their reputation for the whole industry of real estate for when they're doing it is they're on point. So we use people that are highly regarded as some of the top professional home inspectors, whether you're selling or buying. So that's one of the ways that we can protect you. Andrew actually is a background as a mortgage broker. So in terms of one of the things that we have to do for our clients is to make sure that they're pre-approved and to make sure that they've got everything in line. A lot of it could be car payments, could be outstanding debts that you don't even realize are going to affect, obviously what you can buy for a home. Getting another thing, I mean, the biggest gift you can get if parents, if you're a first-time buyer, and your parents are willing to gift you that $10, $15, $20,000, that could be the difference between you buying a home and not. That little extra money, it's the best gift. A lot of people can do. If you're not fortunate enough to be in that situation, then we have other lenders that you can work with. If you're buying a condo too, then the equivalent to a home inspection would be a status certificate. Status certificates for you out there, when we're talking to clients, they don't always know what a status certificate is, but it's going to tell you how well taken care of that building is, with reserve funds, the money taken to manage the corporation, the age of the building, the bylaws, and many other things, that stipulations for pets and other things to ensure that you're going to be happy where you're living. So, just an overview on some of the things that you can expect in this market.
Yeah, all great points. And I mean, extremely valuable and extremely relevant. The pre-approval, I can't stress that enough. Can't stress that enough in this market, in any market, but just, man, this market, you got to know. I'm spell off my chair. Spell off a chair. With the way that the market is, it's unfortunate, and it sucks. But if, for the most part, if you're not going in firm to buy a house these days, you've got a very slim chance of getting a home, a very slim chance. And if you do go in with conditions, you're paying for it. Like, you're paying like 10, 15 grand at least. And even still, I've had clients, I've been on been a listing agent and seen offers come in, and they've got conditions, and I've heard the emotion and the struggle and the rationale from my sellers to say, this is a done deal, and yeah, it's $10,000 more, but who knows I don't know if they're approved. Like, are they just going to back out? Right. Like, people want to know for sure. Right. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole just yet, but this is where, you and I might disagree as far as like buying and selling first. That'll be applicable. Right. But
I think that might be our next show.
Well, maybe it will, because maybe it'll be a big topic.
I want to throw one thing in there, just the importance. Like, if there's one major lesson that I want to say for all the sellers out there, one thing that you can guarantee. So Andrew and I are emphasizing for buyers and sellers out there protecting themselves. If you're a seller and it's gone into a crazy bidding war, okay, and you're sitting there with two offers at the end of the day, and the one offer has the bank draft, and they're both firm offers, right?
You're talking about the bank draft. You're talking about deposit at this point, right?
Deposit with deposit, bank draft. So the one has a deposit, a certified deposit, okay, and the other one, it says that they're going to get their deposit tomorrow, okay. So you wake up tomorrow morning and you've accepted this offer that did not have a deposit. Well, guess what? The offer is now null and void. Okay. So just to make sure you're very aware that it could be firm, but if you don't have that actual deposit, those certified funds, that bank draft, then there is no completed deal. So just, if there's one lesson that I can emphasize, I know Andrew's obviously something that he's faced as well too. We want to protect you. This is an opportunity for us to educate you and see it from our perspective as well too.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you took the pre-approval almost to the next level. You're talking about like the deals, being complete, the contract, the purchase agreement, becoming complete from a seller's perspective as well. So let's touch it just to clarify and differentiate between, your comment and my comments, right? So
Yeah.
I'm specifically talking about a buyer getting an approval. Ross was talking about a seller accepting an agreement, right? So just to separate that for those that are new to real estate, first time buyers, just kind of starting to get some information about it. But as far as I'll just go back to the pre-approval just to kill that point for a second. Going back to the pre-approvals, that is when I say get a pre-approval, I mean like don't just go into the bank or don't just call up the your financial advisor or your checking person. I don't even know what they call them, bank advisor. I've had clients burned too many times in the past.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a mortgage broker, as a mortgage broker for 4 years before I got into real estate, I had a lot of clients that went to the bank, thought that they were pre-approved because the bank said, yeah, you can afford this much. And now they're coming to me in a scramble because they went out and bought something and the bank said no. And now I've got a day and a half to try to get them financing, right? As I dug into that, there was a commonality. And what it was is, unfortunately, an inexperienced frontline person at the bank behind the desk or behind the one of the tellers or something like that. They don't understand the process of packaging a mortgage application. They don't understand all the things that influence what an underwriter is going to be looking at to say, okay, this is a safe deal for the bank. We're okay with accepting this risk, right? So, Ross, you touched on it a little bit earlier. You just kind of grazed over it. But like when you go into a pre-approval, you're not just telling them I make $100,000 a year. And then they say, oh, okay, you make $100,000 a year. Well, then you can afford a $500,000 mortgage, right? They got to know, they got to pull your credit. What's your credit score? How many things are showing up on your credit that are outstanding balances? They're not outstanding like delinquent, but outstanding is like you have payments that you make regularly. You touched on it. A car loan.
Mm-hmm.
Do you carry a balance on credit cards? How many credit cards do you have? Do you have a student loan still? Do you have an unsecured line of credit? If you're a homeowner as well, do you have a line of credit? A lot of times people, I talk to them, they say, I have no mortgage. Okay, you're mortgage free? Yeah, but I have a line of credit. Oh, they don't understand that a home equity line of credit, it's a mortgage. I mean, it's the same thing. It's a lien, it's a loan with your primary residence or your, the building, the piece of real estate is the collateral. It's a mortgage, right? So all these little things. How much down payment?
A couple other things to that list as well too. Please, guys, if you purchased a home, don't go out and buy a car. Don't go out and buy furniture. Do not change jobs. Don't be in the process of looking for a home and then telling us, hey, I just changed jobs. Right. Okay. Well, the banks are looking for history. They are looking to see what is the bottom line. And they're a business. I would argue the biggest business on the planet today. One of the things that Andrew and I will use with our clients, additional sales tools that we use to separate us from the pack, is a letter of commitment from the bank, otherwise known as a pre-approval, where a bank can facilitate. I know RBC, they were recently saying that they were guaranteed approval. Okay. There are other financial institutions out there where guarantees, if you're analytical or you just want to be protected, you're just, you're that person, you want to be protected. These are things that we know. Now, if you're downsizing and you're in a position where you've got the cash in hand, you don't need pre-approval. Okay. If you're coming from that position of strength and you understand this, then this is irrelevant. This is more for people moving up in the market that are needing to borrow money from the bank to put themselves in that position to move out of the condo, to move into a townhome. But the letter of commitment, and then please don't be going to buy furniture or cars or changing jobs.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. I mean, it happens, right? It happens. It's like 3 months before, they're like, I'm thinking move. they're like, "Wow, I wanted to buy a new car."
Right. I haven't had a car payment for the last, 3 years, but I need a new car. So now I've got a $750 a month car payment.
And buy furniture after you've taken possession
and
of
your car. And your car.
And your car. And your car.
It's kind of like I got going off topic, but I can't help it. It's like renters going and getting a dog and a cat, like right before. It's like the first thing they do, right? Couples come together. I like you, you like me. Let's buy a dog. Yeah, and then we'll go and rent a house, right? No, get the dog when you own your own house. Don't try to be a renter and trying to find. Don't get a dog or a cat and then try to find a rental.
That's another show
That's another show.
Helping people find a place to rent with pets.
Right. Right. Okay, let's go back before, otherwise I'll never do it. I'm glad that I'm taking notes here because normally I would totally squirrel, never get back to that. So so let's kill this pre-approval thing once and for all.
Yeah,
just make sure that you go and talk to a mortgage broker, not a bank person. If it is a bank person, it needs to be one of their mobile mortgage reps.
One better, Andrew. Contact Andrew Roach or Ross Bridges, and we will put you in contact with our
who do you use?
Mortgage advisors.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to say one name on here. Okay. I could say like Sean Smith has been amazing for me. There's Jeff Ames, a new guy, Chris Jackson, who's been amazing in terms of helping clients. I think it comes down to Jessica De Silva. There's a group of people that you want to make sure that it's kind of like a home inspector, right?
Yeah, totally.
You as a professional, Andrew, me as a professional, I want to customize it to what's in my client's best interest.
Yeah,
it's not one size fits all. There's different products out there. What type of lender do they need? Are they looking for their dream home, or is it a first-time buyer?
Yeah.
So, there's many different people, but contact us and we will put you in contact with the best mortgage advisors. I mean, maybe you want to do a plug. I know that you were telling me about a woman that you've been using for a while. Maybe you might want to plug one or two people that you think are leaders in your area as well too, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots. And I think we've talked about this as well. We'll get them on a show. Get a handful of them on a show. Whether we rotate them, and again, like just like we talked about earlier, Ross. You're attacking something from one angle. I'm attacking something from another angle. It doesn't mean that one's wrong, one's right. Same thing. Mortgage brokers will come on and they'll have their own niche. They'll have the specialty. They'll have their favorite lenders, right? And again, with the experience that I had as a mortgage broker before I got into real estate, you get to know like a handful of lenders very well, and relationships can't be understated, right? A relationship that a mortgage broker will have with an underwriter is worth its weight in gold. Right. It's just not that a relationship has weight. That was a bad analogy, but the weight of the person, right? It's incredible. And one mortgage broker might have a great relationship with, company Y, and another one with, company X, and whatever the case may be. Both of them are great. They're both great and they'll both get it done, kind of thing. Right. But, not one person is going to be better than the other per se. It's just, it's better to have someone that has a good background and a good, a lot of experience to getting stuff done and problem solving and good relationships with lenders, like I said, right? So, good point, Ross. And, there's good mortgage brokers, bad mortgage brokers, good real estate agents, bad real estate agents, good car salesmen, bad car salesmen, bad lawyers.
The reason we're doing this show, everyone, is to allow you guys to gather information. So we're sponges. We do this for a living. This is what we do. We are specialists. Why are you hiring us to help you? Well, because we've done it many, 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 many times, and we're going to do it many, many more. And we see different scenarios, situations where you're using us for our experience. Yeah. It's our experience that sets us apart. You might understand the process, or you might have an inkling and a basic understanding, but it's us to help you fill in those gaps. I use the slogan "bridging the gap between buyers and sellers." It's a play on my last name.
Nice, love it.
Thank you, Andrew, for allowing me to say.
I don't think that roaching the gap works right the same.
No, but
Let's try it.
a beautiful family business, and we're very blessed. But why we're doing this, guys, gather the information from us, reach out, ask us questions. That's why we're here. That's why we put this show together out there, to make sure that we're giving you, the audience, what you want, what you deserve, what you need.
For sure. Absolutely. Wrapping it up. Well, I shouldn't say wrapping up, but at this point anyways, the home inspection, again, trying to buy a house firm. It's challenging. You can get a home inspection done beforehand, right? You got to book, you got to coordinate that with a listing agent. You may have to say to your home inspector, I need get it done quicker, right? I mean, a typical home inspection for my home inspector that we use, on an average side detached home, you're 2.5, maybe 3 hours if it's larger, right? You're realistically not going to get a home inspection done or get a 3-hour time blocking in this type of market, right? So, but there's things you can do to have a good once over. Look at the big stuff, right? Look at your furnace. Is that going to be needed repaired or replaced? How old is it? AC, same thing. That's going to be like a $4,000 repair or replacement. Any cracks in the foundation. I almost, the cracks in the foundation can almost be can be almost overstated to a degree. They can, usually they can be a relatively easy fix. $500, crack injection. They come with a lifetime warranty, right? So there's things that we can have those discussions if that kind of stuff comes up. Don't be afraid of that kind of stuff. Roof, when's that going to need to be done? The big ticket stuff, right? You can get that done ahead of time to give you that peace of mind, right? And it's so that you can go in firm on a deal with like 100% confidence outside of, am I going to be able to afford it? Is my budget big enough? Let's just say that. Not am I going to be able to afford it,
and a selling agent should allow you to be able to do a home inspection.
Yeah. So, just provided it's not crazy busy. Like I've had some listings that I was blocked out. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any appointments, and those were half-hour increments. Those are half-hour appointments.
And that's where, if there is a pre-existing home inspection, where if the seller agent was nice enough to, or respectful enough in a market like this to do a pre-listing inspection, then it's nice to have that as well too. Now, you're not always going to have that, right? Yeah. So then, it comes down to your expertise. You could potentially do a walkthrough where your home inspector is going with you literally for your your showing, right? And sometimes you just have to look out. So the biggest things are obviously your foundation. That's always going to be the number one. Andrew touched on the mechanical systems of the furnace and the air condition. You need to know by the age of the home. You need to have a good sense, and you have to trust your realtor in terms of the way that they're directing you as well too. If they have a background, I have a background in construction restoration. I'm not the greatest when it comes to furnaces and mechanical systems in terms of the age, but I have enough knowledge to say, if this is something that you should be worried about. And that's something that Andrew and myself will do to advise you guys, and then the people on our team, the extension of Andrew and myself as well too.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Lean on us for our experience and our connections, right? I only work with people that are good and that I've used personally, that I've personally used multiple times, right? And I'm very loyal. I don't have, I'm not going to give you a list of 17 people. Like, here, call one of them. It's going to be one, maybe two. These are our go-tos because that's who I use all the time, because that's who I like and trust, and I've got great results from. So, of course, you can always use whoever you want, right? If your uncle or your best friend or someone else you used in the past was great for you, that's cool. But if you don't have those connections and you're worried about not, making the wrong choice, we've got great connections. So.
And to touch on that point briefly, a lot of the times, if it's a trust issue where you're thinking people that maybe we're suggesting, we've gone through trial and tribulations with certain lawyers or home inspectors or mortgage specialists. And at this point in our careers, we want to make sure that we're guiding you. Our reputation is critical for us, right? Without our reputation, we don't have much. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're guiding you with people that we trust, that you're going to have a great end result. You're going to get information and educated on those systems, on that financing, so that you know exactly where you have to be. You have to save more for a down payment, or you know exactly what you got to do so that we can help you be successful in buying or selling.
Yeah.
And buying and selling.
All right. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the first show. Keeping checking back often. We'll get a bunch out to you quickly for some good content, good information, understanding and navigating the current real estate market. But unless you got anything else to touch on, we'll sign off for now and see us on the next show.
Andrew Roach and Ross Bridges signing off.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll see you guys soon.